pondered on that. And as I did, I picked up another newspaper, a local one, and I saw this article, sarcastically entitled, "In Gold We Trust." In gold we trust. You know, one little letter, that one little L, makes all the difference in the world, doesn't it? In whom or what do we trust? In whom or what do we invest our resources, our time, our talent, our treasure? And then as I was pondering that question, I went into a church meeting where we were discussing the church budget and the forthcoming stewardship drive in light of this crazy economy. And this is just a little footnote, but I want to say, if you're thinking about not giving any longer, I think it's exactly the right time to stop giving. And I'll tell you why. Stewardship, giving, really is an act of defiance. In the face of scarcity, to continue to give makes a statement that you believe in a higher power and a higher purpose, that you will not be in bondage to the vicissitudes of this economy. And I think when we give out of scarcity, that's when the real blessing comes, as opposed to giving out of abundance. But that's a stewardship sermon. I don't really want to talk to you a whole lot today about what you can give to the church. What I want to talk to you about today is what God wants to give to you. Because as the prophet Isaiah said, God is waiting to be gracious to you. And that's part of the stuff I still believe. That we live in relationship, a gracious and fighting God who is just waiting to be gracious. Now, whether it be money, whether it be finances, health, relationships, big things or little things, it doesn't really matter. Whatever challenge we're facing can be seen as an opportunity to enhance our faith, to expand our faith, if we're willing to cooperate in whatever challenge we're going through. And these things are all relative. What's big to me or little to me might be the opposite for you. But when we participate and cooperate in these challenges, the universe conspires to meet our needs. Now let me give you an example of a little thing. I said I'd been in Spain for a month, and one of the challenges I knew I would face was driving. I rented a car for a month, and I took out the insurance. Didn't take out the insurance for the deductible because it wasn't cost effective, but the deductible was about $500, which was about 750, about 500 euros, which was about $750. Now it's a little better now than it was a month ago, but so I decided, well, I'll take my chances on the deductible. And for the most part, the Spanish roads are excellent, and the Spanish drivers are really good as well. But there was a learning curve. The roundabouts. There's no time to think. There's no time to think. And when we stayed in these particular cities, we always stayed in the old parts of the city. And for those of you who have been in the old European cities, in the old sections, those streets really weren't made for cars in the first place. Many of them are cobblestone, and many of them are just wide enough to get one small car and maybe a pedestrian. The biggest risk factor we faced was getting your foot run over by a car that was coming down the street because it's that close. In fact, some of the roads get so narrow that you will eventually see a sign, and this is a frightening sign to see when you're going down a one-way street with no place to turn. Physically impossible to continue. Physically impossible. So I tried to avoid those streets. Occasionally I got sidetracked or stuck, and I had to navigate through those streets, but for the most part we did pretty well. The other challenge was parking. And as you know, parking in those cities is at a premium. especially for those of us who resist paying $25 a day to park in public garages. So when we were in Sevilla, I had intended to, we couldn't find a parking spot and intended to go to the public garage. Well, at the last moment, a parking spot opened up, and I took it. And we parked the car there and left it for 7 days, didn't move it. We walked and bicycled all over Sevilla. But as I parked the car, and it took me a while to figure this out, there are unofficial parking attendants all over the city. And these are guys, usually without employment, without gainful employment or homeless or something. They will kind of adopt a block. And they will monitor that block. And when they suspect that a parking spot is going to open up, they will guard that spot, and they will very courteously guide the driver out of the spot, because there's not much room to get in and out, and guide the next driver that happens to be coming down the road into the spot. And they kind of keep one eye on your car as well, and then you give them a little tip. Well, it took me a while to figure all of this out, but I found a spot opened up, and there was no unofficial parking attendant there. One came along later, but I gave him a few bucks to kind of keep an eye on the car. But it was safe, it was untouched, and believe me, in Spain, you don't see a car without a scratch or a dent. You just don't see it, unless it's right off the lot. So after about 6 days, my car was still sitting there, no scratches, no dents. I thought, I'm home free. I just saved a week's worth of parking. Well, as I took a closer look, I found that someone had clipped my side view mirror. And I forgot to notice that every car on the street, when they park their car, they collapse their mirrors. And for those of you who don't know, maybe some of you ladies that don't know, your mirrors on your cars can be pushed in, they can be collapsed in. And the reason they do that is because the quarters are so close that a car will come by and actually hit your mirror with their mirror, and it'll collapse in, but it doesn't collapse out. So anyway, somebody clipped my mirror and remarkably did no damage to the mirror. All it did was break the glass.